Well, hello there, YouTube. I don't know if this is being tweeted out or if this is being actually pushed out anywhere. So hopefully, if people are in the chat, please retweet this out because I think YouTube are scupping my numbers at this moment in time. So if anybody can, please retweet it, then that would be great. Apart from that, I'm here with the amazing Ogre. Magic Bullets can't be with us at this moment in time due to personal stuff, just life in general, really, to be fair. But that being said, yay, welcome names. That being said, we're going to be talking today about a manifesto that we decided that we were going to talk about on Wednesday's stream. Me and Ogre have been hard at work. We've come up with a little bit of a manifesto. I've linked the manifesto that we finished together in the description box below. So if anybody wants to have a read of it, please do. Or if they want to come and read with us, then you can just download it as a PDF file and it's there for you to read as well as we go through it. So with that being said, what do we actually think about this, Ogre? What do we like about this manifesto? What don't we like? Do we even like the name of the party that we'd come up with?
Yeah, well, I'm not British, but do I like it? Yes, absolutely. I like all of the ideas expressed in it. As you know already, just in the first couple steps with me, I'm really anal about language and the use of it when it's in written form, especially in the form of a constitution, a mission statement, or anything like that from a group of people. But other than how can I put this without just being a cocksucker? I can't.
Just be a cocksucker.
Yeah, I can't. So other than the composition, the ideas are some of the most sound ideas that I've seen in this kind of a package in a long time. And yes, I've read the liberalist movement I've been into this kind of thing for years. So if I was to just go through the things that I've read through on YouTube and on the internet, it would only be a small portion of the time that I've been interested in philosophy, politics, and the inner workings of society. It's I think that one thing I can say for it is when it comes to government, when it comes to governance, when it comes to this type of a manifesto, it's that I love about it is it's simple and direct is best. You don't have to be like the Communist Manifesto is my opinion of an example of exactly how you wouldn't write one. But but the Unabomber Timothy McVeigh's manifesto, I would say is an example of how you would write one. Now I picked both of those because I don't agree with either one of them. But one is an example of a condensed, straightforward, this is what we believe, this is what we want. And the other one is an example of just a lot of words. So even though, as you already see, I'm trying to streamline it in my own way, yeah, I got to say that as is, it's still straightforward, compact, direct, to the point, which anything like this should be.
Yeah, I mean, I quite agree with it. I mean, it took me all fucking day to write, believe it or not. It took me all fucking day.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I thought you spent the better part of 2 days.
It only took me roughly a day to write all in all. I've added an extra bit to do with crime, and I've added a extra bit to do with the Royal National Lifeguard Association or Institute. Sorry.
And in fact, I just realized I don't have it pulled up. Let me pull this sucker up real quick.
Yeah. I mean, what we can do is when you do get up there to pull it up, we can go through very quickly. We can go through basically something that's very, very similar to what the liberalists have done. In fact, I've actually technically copied the format, not what was written, but the format of how Sargon wrote his liberalist points or structures or pillars, if I remember correctly, what he wrote. Yes. But these are what I honestly think that if we're going to do some sort of form of a liberalist party or a liberal party or a libertarian type party, then these are the cornerstones, the foundations in which we have to lay down our points and actually have everything that comes from our policies need to stem from these foundations. So I honestly feel that we've done quite well on those points. I feel that I can't really write them any clearer than what I did for those foundation points, which a lot of people actually haven't seen. So that should be quite good.
Yeah. I think I might just try to blister through the beginning part of this. This may today be not till dear, but how about didn't read all? So we may not get to all of it, but we're definitely going to get down to at least some of the beginning pillars. And you know, hey, forgive us for this is like, as he's already said, the rough draft. This is what we got. I mean, this is a gentleman sitting down and busting his brains against the wall for a day. And you know, so I'm only saying this because, so please, and me included, be gentle. If you see something that's not perfect, you know, just don't be a dick. So the manifesto of the Liberal Britain Party, I do love the name, or LBP for short. To begin with, I'd like to set out some principles that we abide by. Number one, individual rights. Protecting the rights of the individual is the most important aspect of any liberal society. If you can protect the rights of the individual, then the rights of everyone are protected on equal importance, regardless of social standings, race, or any differences that may occur in any individual. Democracy. Constitutional democracy or a constitutional republic are the best ways for a free citizenry to maintain democracy and be able to defend against tyranny. Meritocracy. If we're going to have any form of democracy, we need to ingrain into our society that the best person for the job gets the job, regardless of what they look like or what they believe in. This is a standing pillar of any democracy, of any society. Economic freedom. Property rights that have personal self-ownership and the existence of private property creates the most productive societies, as it gives incentives for everyone to work for the betterment of themselves. This, in turn, means the betterment of our society. Freedom of speech. Freedom of expression or freedom of speech is absolute. As to ban or to censor one from expressing any form of ideas contradicts the idea of this fundamental pillar of a free society. Self-reliance. People possess agency and should be treated as such, because the idea of responsibility of self is that people are responsible for their own actions and choices. Treating people like victims becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Truer words never spoken. Blind justice. Each individual should be governed by the same laws as their peers without arbitrary discrimination and be presumed innocent until proven guilty by a fair trial. Secularism. Everybody is free to practice their own religion or not, as long as it does not interfere with the rights of others. These are the principles on which the Liberal Britain Party believe in and draw all our policies from said same.
Yep. As I said, you will see you will actually see similarities in the Sargon liberalist movement. The reason why is because it's a libertarian idea. The ideologies are pretty much the same. Especially when it comes to secularism, I don't think I could have written it any better, so I didn't bother changing it. The idea of meritocracy was written perfectly, so I didn't feel that I needed to change it. But a couple of the other bits I did need to change, and I have done, and I've expressed it in my own way. The things that we have actually done that would be absolutely different, or that I've done, that me and Oga have done, is that we've actually written out a mission statement which goes into policy matters that we would decide that we would implement. It doesn't go into depth because that means a lot of research and actually providing numbers and how you're going to be cost affecting it. But we can implement the ideas of it as it's only a day old, 2 days old. So, yeah, I think it'd be quite a good idea to just go through some of that and see where we go from there.
Yeah, I'm not going to read any redacted version. I'm just going to go right with this. Again, you know, my opinions, everybody's opinions. This is what it is. And it's very good the way it is. So I'm going to read it as is. So credit back to the Common Sense Guy on this so far, and in whole right now. This is Common Sense Guy's work in full. But I do believe he says it in here. So this is for everyone, not just me. I mean, if you believe that something could be said in a better way or that something should be added, just remember, I think both of our premises We do not want this to be something that's bloated and has a lot of fat on it. We want to trim off any fat. We want it to be clear, concise, all-encompassing if possible, but clear, concise, and to the point. So here we go. This is wonderful too. I got to say, I like the way this was written. Mrs. overthought a lot of this, so I'm going to read it just as this. This is the mission statement of the party. We are the Libertarian Britain Party. Our goals are to stop the practice of authoritarian laws such as hate crimes, which in essence is policing thoughts and turning that into a crime, or the idea that you can be arrested of being grossly offensive, then be convicted for it after all context is taken away from what happened. This cannot stand, as the idea of being arrested for being grossly offensive is completely subjective. This means that one individual can find something anyone has said to be offensive and then arrested for it on the perception of that individual's interpretation of what was said. The idea that because someone might find something offensive means I or you could lose your liberty and any life you may have built will be destroyed. This is ludicrous. Offense in this context can only be taken, not given, meaning it's all subjective. Setting a constitution. We believe in having a constitution in the democratic process that will protect the individual rights of the citizenry from the government and all aspects thereof. This constitution will give rights that will protect aspects such as free speech, being able to defend your home, yourself, and your family, the right to privacy in your own home, the police or other government not being able to enter your home without provocation. This would also apply to the general public as well. Other points on the Constitution we have to debate and decide on a wider scale. A True Equalities Act. We all know there is an Equalities Act 2010 in place that is supposed to give equal chances and equal treatment to all people regardless of race, class, or gender. We would say on the issues of treatment, there is a disparity in how men and women are treated in the eyes of the law, in both criminal and civil. In criminal aspects, we at LBP believe that each crime should be assessed on the crime and what the perpetrator has done. These should be the only factor considered in all average cases. We mean by this, race, culture, religion, or gender should not play any role in the sentencing decision. Moving on to civil law, most importantly, family law. There is no one that can argue that there is equality in this area. Instead, the law being stacked toward the mother getting more rights more often. If we are to truly have equality, we cannot have any bias or positive discrimination laws in place. We need to judge every case as individual cases, not favored or biased toward a gender because of a presupposition that the mothers are always best. In some cases, they are not. In some cases that applies, in some places that apply, there should be joint access. In these joint access decisions, there needs to be a government drawn up by the parents that can be followed and accepted and enforced. This works both ways.
Just to take a quick break from obviously reading, what do you think actually so far? Is there anything that you would change by policy in itself? I know wording. After all, I'm dyslexic, so my wording can sometimes be a little bit forgetful. I forget where the sentence started.
No, it seems fine, but the only thing I can say is on a personal level, I don't think that the state should ever be involved in a family. If the child is underaged, and this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but until a child is, for the longest time in this country, 21, they are, in all intensive purposes, the property of their parents. Some parents are beaten. Some children are beaten by their parents. Some, God forbid, are even molested by their parents. But, you know, as sad and sick as that may be, as good as other things may be, it's a roll of the dice. Sometimes the roll comes up, you get in a great family, they're wealthy, they take care of you, go to the best schools. Sometimes the roll comes up and you're born in a whorehouse
Yeah.
and you're beaten and you have a hell of a life. In the end, equality of opportunity is the only thing that I'm concerned with after a human being comes to fruition. Now, that said, let me only qualify it this way. I don't think that any parent has the right to end their child's life. And with this, so like I even brought up molestation. In that case, I would say that that is torture, a cruel and unusual punishment. So I do think that the local community should step in, but the government, I do not think there should be any family courts. I don't think they should, the mother and father should work out who gets visitation rights, who gets to see the kid, who pays for what. If they can't work it out, I guess it ain't worked out. They'll have to bitch and yell at each other. I don't think the state should be involved.
I can agree with most, if not almost all aspects of what you said. The main reasons why I've put civil law and as in family law into this section is because of family rights. And by that, I mean father's rights. The fact that if any women want to take their children to a civil court, then 9 times out of 10, they are going to get full custody of children. I want that to change. I want that to be able to go through a mitigation process to begin with, so that you are, first of all, forced to sit down between the two of you, between the mother and the father, try and sort out circumstances that are there, so you can actually work out what's going on, sort out visitation rights, so to speak, and everything else like that. If that then doesn't work, then you have arbitration with either a lawyer or a counsellor present. That way you can then try and understand what's going on and progress it forward. If that doesn't work, then you go to a civil court. Now, any decisions that that civil court makes needs to be on a non-biased property. That needs to make sure that there are no bias towards the mother, no bias towards the father, and it needs to be done as a case-by-case basis that is actually done by evidence that is given from the character of the parents in this case. Anything that is actually decided in these cases needs to be upheld and adhered to by both parties. So if visitation rights is granted on equal access, then it needs to be granted on equal access. There is no way of going back on this. It needs to be done, because otherwise fathers do not get to see their children and vice versa.
Yeah, I don't want this to be an ass-kissing fest, but I can't agree more. I mean, and here, let me, because the big qualifier to everything that I said before was, as long as the state is involved, this is, we need to start, we should have it set up so when the parents come into the court and the judge is deciding where the child should stay, even if the father works 18-hour days as a CEO and executive of his own small company and has nannies that take care of it, if that's the best situation, then no, they shouldn't go to the alcoholic abusive mother any more than they should go to the alcoholic abusive father. Let's take abusive out of it, because I drink. If there was a case in my mind and I was the judge and I drank as I do now, common sense guy, this is where justice has to be blind. It's not the judge sitting, it's Lady Justice.
Yes.
And there was a case where there was a man and a woman. The woman was poor, but sober as a daggone, sober as the vicar, which I think they're not really that sober, but sober as the vicar. And here's the father. Yes, he makes good money and everything else, but he's drinks scotch every night. He's, got his sherry every night, and he's no way. I don't even care if there's been no outworking of that. I would want to know every aspect that I possibly could and make the decision on who do I believe would be ready to take care of these children in the worst circumstance that could come up, because often they do. And if you're, have your tipple on, hardcore, and you have some children to watch, maybe you're not prepared to take care of those bad situations. So all that long to say that, as long as the state's involved, then this part of this, I believe this is getting down into a section of the Constitution of this manifesto, is one of the most important ones. If it's going to be there, it needs to be egalitarian, as in all other things.
Exactly. I think that we've explained that pretty well. I mean, if anybody in the chat does actually want to have any sort of questions or any sort of points that they want to bring up, either mention it in the chat. If it's not good enough, but if it's a point that's worth actually discussing rather than just giving a single answer, then we'll invite you on. We can have a chat about it and actually try and hammer it out. This is not set in stone. Literally, as I just said at the beginning, it's 2 days old. I haven't even decided if we're going to push forward with it. It's just the idea that was created by Moz, and we're trying to push the idea forward, trying to work out where we can go with it.
Oh, and we're both going to spend more, we're going to spend more time on it. And we encourage you all to also. Well said. If there is someone with ideas and you put it in there, that'd be great. I'm sure Common Sense guy will work that out. I'm not sure. I've seen Lord Quinn. I'm not worried about him. I think his internet's on and off again. But it must be off again right now. So here we go. We are at the section, if you're following along, and you can find the link to this on Discord. On our Discord, it should be out in the general. If not, just say, and I'll send you a link in any way that I can.
There's also a link in the actual description box below that lets you download the PDF file.
Oh yeah, matter of fact, it's right there, right on the tip top. So we're at the big bold print, True Equalities Act is where we're at. So it says, we all know that there's an Equalities Act 2010 in place that's supposed to give equal chances and equal treatment to all people regardless of race, class, or gender. We would say on the issues of treatment, there is disparity in how men and I'm sorry, I already read that, didn't I?
Yeah.
So sorry. National services is where we're at. Sorry about this, people. I've read through this about 7 times today. So if I forgot where I was at, please excuse me. I've got it all whirling around in my head. So here we go. National services in bold print is actually where we're a little bit down. So let's see if I can start this again. And we pick up national services. We at the LBP believe that members of our frontline national services, examples, police, NHS, fire services, in the RNLI, should all be reevaluated. By this, we mean we should look at the structures that have been put in place by previous governments. We would look at all the, quote, chiefs of these services to evaluate what their jobs actually are, and if they're duplicated, we will ask them after consultation with independent experts. We would do this to trim the fat of an already bloated service. This is what we can do with the NHS. With the police service, we can evaluate the structure it's put in place at the moment to see what we can do to improve the service. This may be to increase the funding that goes to the police as a whole, or it could be that we give individual police stations the cash separately to be able to fund the stations and give them the choice to be able to help their community in ways that it is needed, rather than Westminster dictating what they have to do. Now, with the fire service, we need more funding for this vital service that is sorely underrated. This service does not just deal with fires. They also go to the scenes of crashes of all kinds to help rescue people in countless situations. We have neglected this service for too long. As for the RNLI, I would like to offer government funding to the RNLI whilst still retaining its charity status. This is so the RNLI still can collect money the same way they have been in the past with added funding. With this status, it also still covers all the benefits of a charity as well. Benefits and social netting. This is somewhere we can save money. From the idea of professional benefits, cheats to illegal immigrants using the system to live off of. So to begin with, the professional cheats, excuse me, the ones that have not done any work or the least amount possible. We think that a year to find work when you are actually looking for work is long enough on benefits. This means that the system will start you off by helping as much as possible. This can be by helping with rents, finding jobs, and even free courses to retrain at entry levels. As the year progresses, we would put more incentives into getting a job of their choosing rather than a job that is chosen by their advisor. This job can be anything from working anything that is available. This could be any trade that may have been taught to the claimant or to any service run by the government. If none of these jobs cannot be found or not suitable, then while the benefits are still being paid, the claimant will be doing community service around the area they live or very close to them. Illegal immigrants will not be able to get any benefits paid to them at all. They will be deported to the country of origin. Refugees will have to learn English to receive benefits and must be present in every class without good reason. Otherwise, the benefits will be sanctioned until they go back to said class. We at LBP understand that cultures can be different and practices may be different, such as you may have more than one wife. This does not mean that you are entitled to more than one living property. You are entitled to accommodation that can house you. Education. On to education.
Well, before we move on to education, I know that a lot of people are going to have a lot of different points that are going to do with benefit systems in itself, especially from people from the actual UK themselves. But before we actually move on and we ask the chat if they have any sort of questions regarding that, from somebody looking from the outside in, what would you think of that policy for social netting? Understanding that, first of all, your premise would be you don't believe in social netting. So casting that aside, if you had to have it, would this be a good policy?
If you mean me, yes. The things I like the most about it is where you say that if you're illegal, you don't get help. You're here illegally. You get help as in a ticket back home. If you come back again, you get a ticket to the big house for a year or so, and then a ticket home. They don't have any help for illegals any more than you're going to get a flat in Birmingham for a 3-time, breaking and entering robber. No, he gets a ticket to the big house, and when he gets out, he can get a job and whatever he needs to do.
Yeah.
So outsider looking in, no. I want to say this: if you're going to have it, and you said it on air, I know that you have your own thing that you may or may not bring up, but if it's difficult for me to put a year on it, and here's why: training could take a little bit longer. But if you're going to have a year, all right, let's just say that that's going to be the standard, then to be on disability needs not be denied first thing. That's what they do in this country. That's what they do in Great Britain. The first thing they do, well, I don't know about Great Britain. First thing they do here is deny the claim. That's deny. And then it can take years in some cases. My good friend's going through it right now. He had a stroke, worked for 17 years at a slaughterhouse. He's worked. They're not giving him his money. It's been 2 years now. So if they're going to give you 1 year of help as unemployment insurance is what we call it here. I'm not sure you call them claimants. So I'm assuming it's unemployment, it's unemployment insurance. Well, that's fine. But if they've been hurt, they should get a year of unemployment benefits, which are generally higher. And then the fast track should be a fast track to disability. We have too many people that have hurt themselves in the line of duty, that have hurt themselves. However, they hurt themselves at home barbecuing. Who cares? But have hurt their body and are incapable of a standard 9-to-5 job. They could possibly be retrained to work at home. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is the idea of them doing something old days is gone. So I know that was a long way around it, but to have a policy like this doesn't mean that we don't have to have compassion. We should be compassionate towards people that are unable to work.
Yeah, I mean, I should have really put something into that to expand on it, but I felt that if I was talking about benefits in general, I thought the premise in my head, which I shouldn't really have thought for other people. I thought that it would be understood that we would keep the same sort of system as it would be, or just improve the disabilities a little bit better. But no, you make a good point. I should have really have elaborated on that one and put that in there.
I wasn't sure. I thought you didn't, because it's two different things, really. I don't know why they group them together, but for the vast majority of people that are on disability, they worked. They were working. They would work now. They're just unable to. So I don't know if it could be an addendum in here, but it just seems strange to me how that fits in. I just wanted to make that point. If you're going to be strict about this, it's good. You can't look at it as you're not compassionate because you tell somebody, look, you've been looking for a job for a year. I'm with you, mate. I find it very difficult to believe if someone is really looking for a job for a year that they couldn't find one. I believe they found jobs they were not willing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Which
And
is why
there's
I wanted to put the incentive on that. If you don't pick a job that you kind of like, because nobody likes the fucking work that they do, nobody fucking likes the job they do. And anybody tells you that they do, they either found a fucking job that they really love and good for them, or they're fucking lying, like most people. But it's a case of if you find a job interesting and you can attack it, then go ahead. Because if you don't, in the policy that I've tried to implement or devise, it's a case of, well, we'll pick something fucking for you, and you're not gonna fucking like it.
I love my job. I'm a professional weed taster.
Yeah, but you're just a lucky cunt.
Yeah, that is the best way to put it. I agree more on with that than probably anybody else will. And so yeah, no worries, Jesse Jennings. We're just getting into this. I think everybody can see it in the low bar there, which says please download that. As we said, the common sense guy and our philosophers. We're psychologists. We don't spend a lot of time in the math side of school of the college or on the English side of the college. Hey, we let nerds do that, which we're a part of, but the other nerds, the nerds that care so much if it's, it's supposed to whatever. And so, don't be too hard on us if every fucking period ain't in the right place. If you care to be that hard on us, well, I'd bloody download it and fix all the punctuation and spelling. That's fine with us.
Yes, please. If anybody wants to do that, please do that.
We don't mind. I'm probably going to take it to my cousin who does that kind of thing professionally. But as I said, she does it professionally. So it's not something that she's going to be like, oh, Ogre, so good to see that you're here with 3 pages of me to do what I do for a living anyway. Good to see you, young man. But that said, there you go. It's just my way of saying, give us a break. And if you're that big of a stickler, well, fix it. We won't hate you for it. So what do you think here, Common Sense? Shall we soldier on? I might need another minute or two to just get my voice together. I foolishly, knowing I was going to be reading this, went on and did 15 minutes of narration and uploaded it before I came on here. I noticed. Yeah, I should have just saved my voice. Something about it, narration is different than talking.
It is.
And it takes a little something off the old vocal cords.
It takes more concentration, and you don't flow naturally because you concentrate on what you're reading, and you want to read in a clear voice, so you don't actually speak as quick and you don't speak as sloppily as you would do normally. You like to articulate what you're actually saying properly and pronunciate what you're saying properly.
Yes, and even enunciate. Sometimes we do that too.
Fuck you.
Gotta be a dick, man. It's my nature. It's my spiel. It's my thing. It's what I'm good at. So here we go. With that, I can at least go down to crime and punishment. We got some juicy stuff coming up here, and as I said with the I can't remember what it was now, but as I will say with a lot, let me just say in a blanket statement. With a lot of these things, I don't think they should exist, but they do. So if they're going to exist, I can't say it enough. So if you agree with me, if you see this education or whatever it is, benefits in the social netting, whatever it is, and you say to yourself, there should be no national service, there should be no NHS or whatever. Well, bear with us. There is one now. So we're going with where it is now. And even if the idea would be later to cut out some of these things, you can't just do that right off the bat. And there's philosophical reasons. So without going into what those may be, I believe we're at benefits and social netting. We just read that. Yes.
Yeah. You just read that.
We are in education and then going to crime and prison. So education, on to education. We believe that every child, regardless of where they are from, deserves the chance of education of high levels. We know that children are the future of not just the UK, but the world as a whole. The idea we have would be to look at how the school systems work at the moment and make decisions after that. The idea of private schools are encouraged as private schools are the choice of the parent. The service we as a government needs to be focused on is the public service to the children. This means to us looking at the funding system again. We believe that if we give choice of the funding to the individual schools, we should give the choice of funding to individual schools. Then they can make choices to hire better teachers, get better equipment, and so on. They can choose rather than going to the councils to get their funding it goes to the schools. As you can see with many of these things, it's going to be giving power back to the people to make decisions. I mean, that probably, a lot of people when they hear that probably think about when we were talking earlier about how you don't want Westminster to make all the decisions. You want to let the individual police stations give all the decisions. That's just a reiteration. So here we go. Here's a great one, folks. They're all great, but here's a great one. Crime and prison. The idea of crime and criminals needs to be addressed. We at LBP think that if we have illegal immigrants committing crimes in our country, they should be deported to country of origin as soon as caught. As for illegal immigrants, for the first 5 years, they should be on a probationary period, where if they commit crimes that are considered serious, such as rape, murder, unprovoked ABH or GBH, and continuous sentencing on antisocial behavior, we need to deport that individual to country of origin with the option of paying for the family if they have one in the country to go with the criminal, or they have the option to stay and live. We also, in other words, the family, they in this case, folks, is the family. So the family can go and we pay for it. They can go back with the criminal. But if they want to stay and live, they can. But the criminal, if they continue to commit crimes, if they've committed one of these heinous crimes, they have to go. Sorry about that common sense. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood.
Fine. Thank you very much.
We also need to lessen sentence lengths for crimes such as shoplifting and drunken and disorderly. We think these people should be fined on a structured approach. For this, we mean if this is the first offense, then 250 pounds. Second offense, 500 pounds. Third offense, 1,000. Any more after that, prison time, maybe 6 months. For more serious crimes, we would need to talk to experts on what are the best ways of dealing with this, as well as the public. We believe in a strong prison service. We mean by this making the time spent in prison harder. This means taking away pool tables, TVs, and computer consoles. This, in turn, frees up time for a lot of prisoners. This can be used for these prisoners to give back to the community in ways of cleaning up the plastic in the wilderness areas, as well as city locations. We can also have more community help in cleaning up graffiti and other services such as grass cutting and other cost cuttings for local councils. We will provide this service on the choice of the prisoners themselves. This means they would need to volunteer for the service and be checked for their crimes and behaviors in the prison. We would also like to increase the funding to the prison service so we can hire much needed prison officers to provide safety and security for both prisoners and the officers. The way we can get funding for this is the services they can provide will cut costs to local councils, providing more money to this service. We can also provide this service to private companies as well. Examples, cleaning up areas after festivals and similar events. And look, before they beat us up, common sense, I read through this and there's a couple things I disagree with, but the one that I don't, everybody's going to look at you common and say, chain gang. No, listen carefully, folks. The prisoners themselves would volunteer. And listen, if the prisoners have a choice between staring at the wall all day with no ping pong table, no pool table, no flat screen TVs, or they can go out and they can weed whip and pick up, what would you do? Ask yourself that. And I know you're not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. Common sense guy's not a criminal. But 90% of them would also volunteer for these things, if nothing else, to get out in the sunshine, the rain, whatever it was, to get outside and breathe the fresh air. And I think that's of everything here, that's one of the best things said, to give the people a purpose, put them to work.
Yep. I mean, I completely agree with that, obviously. I mean, I wrote the policy. But no, Ogre's completely right. The reason why I've done that is for twofold. One, it's a very, very cost-effective way of relieving all of the council problems. Say, for instance, they have grass cuttings, they have people that go around and clean up areas in parks and things like that. You can cut the people that don't need to actually do that and just provide that service. It's an interlinking service. It's all government run. So it's just a case of putting different people in different areas. The thing is as well with that type of service, as I alluded to at the end, is that for festivals and big events that can be encased, you can then use that as selling to private people to be able to provide a service to them. So that means that they get extra funding to fund for the prisons themselves, as well as the prison officers as well for that prison. So it would then be a contract basis to be able to try and get more contracts in that area to be able to provide for those services. So that way you would actually be able to increase the funding for the prisons by themselves, as well as obviously government funding.
Well, and in the most cases, I hate to bring this up, but this is just the facts. I've had friends in jail and prison. You ever try to call somebody in jail and pay for what that costs? Where do you think that money goes to? Have you ever given a friend money that was in prison or in jail so that they could get some pot noodles or maybe a jar of peanut butter or something and some sugar packages? Do you know how much that stuff costs in prison as compared to the outside? Most of the time it's 10 times markup. It's not for security purposes. They bring this stuff in wrapped on pallets just like they would in any warehouse, and they distribute it to the people like they would anywhere. It's flat out money making scheme. So if that money is going to the vendors, in other words, if they're saying I'm selling it for 10 times as much because I can, well, it's price gouging, even if it's to prisoners. And if that's going to happen, well, the prison itself should take over the vending. And if they're going to charge 10 times more, I'm not saying I agree with that. But of course, if I was on a panel somewhere and I was the common sense guy's minister of prisons, I would have to say, well, it's already done already. Instead of charging them 10 times as much, why don't we charge them 8 times as much, and we'll use the funds to get more guards. And that's just not what's happening. There's too much for-profit in prisons, even if the prison itself isn't a for-profit prison. That's where the sleight of hand comes in, common sense. Every time a good magician is wanting to do something, they're gonna make something disappear over here. Well, boy, they get your attention over here, and when you least know it, I'm not a magician, obviously, I just did something stupid. And when you least know it, you're looking at the wrong place. Poof, it's gone. You don't know how it disappeared. That's what happens here. They say this is not a for-profit prison, but then you find out the cafeterias farmed out. They have a company that comes in and feeds the people. The commissaries farmed out. The medicine is farmed out. The doctors and nurses, in other words, everything, right down to sometimes the staff, the screws themselves are farmed out. That's a for-profit prison. Wake up.
Definitely. No, I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, the legislation that or the policy that I decided to write is only a rough guide. I mean, for me to go into more detail would take a hell of a lot more than the 4 pages that I've written for all of the policies, or most of the policies that I envisioned, so to speak. But if I was to go into this into depth, sorry, not debt. I don't want to spend money on it. It's a case of Jesse Jennings has made a couple of points that I was actually going to alliterate anyway. What I was going to do for them at the beginning is, first of all, they are asked to become volunteers. So then they can get used to it, and then you can work out if the person is trying to be a flight risk, and I use that with inverted commas or quotations. Somebody that might be a bit sketchy, that might want to run or something like that. You can find out from a couple of times them going out if that person's going to do that. Then you can offer them a wage. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be a minimum wage because they need to give back to the community. But you could do it as a commodity wage. So, for instance, as Ogre's already alliterated to, you have cigarettes, you have toilet rolls, you have comfy sheets, you have better, comfier clothes, stuff like that, that you could use your time to be able to buy, for instance.
Man, that's a good idea right there. In other words, I'm an inmate. If I want to make sure I understand it, I'm an inmate, and I can choose to go down and work in the cafeteria and wash dishes, or maybe work there and do the laundry and do the uniforms and sheets, or I could sign up on the list where I'm out actually cutting grass in the median strip, or picking up garbage in a nice park somewhere. And if I did that, that means I'd get a nice pillow, some real sheets, maybe a real mattress.
Yeah.
Oh man, come on. That's actually, but of course the transverse is true too. If I'm a dick and I try to shank somebody, or if I'm whatever, then those things could be taken away. They don't do that right now, to my knowledge, at all. Now you can go to a better place, but everybody sleeps on the same bullshit mattresses.
Exactly. I just thought that it would be, if I was to go into more depth, it wouldn't be case of extortion or slave labor or things like that, there would be incentive for it. If you notice with anything to do with the policies that I make, I want the incentive to be placed on the person. So the person has the choice to be able to do this. And if the person does this, they get rewarded for it. Not just, oh, we expect you to do it. There's a reward scheme for every policy that I decided to write with the help of Ogre.
Well, you keep saying that, but I haven't helped much yet. And as far as the ideas, I'm not going to help much. I would try to trim the fat off. In fact, this is good. Well, anyway, I already said it 10 times. So no. Thank you very much for being kind. But the only thing I'm doing right now is narrating after reading through it several times a day and considering the ideas. Read through it a couple times yesterday. I was too busy to really sit down and get my whole mind wrapped around it. So we've only got 2 more points. I'm going to knock these some bitches out. Here's to you, common sense. Here's to all y'all. And again, I'm not going to lie. We need your help. We need people that are good at spelling and punctuation. We need other people like myself that are minimalists. We need more people like Common Sense Guy that are just idea guys. Maybe there's some other ideas that could go in here. Not a ton. Maybe there's some ideas that need to come up. Not a ton. In other words, it needs to be streamlined. We've already said all that stuff. So here's to you all. The new society doesn't have to be written by David Hogg and Gomez. It doesn't have to be. It can be written. Cooler heads could prevail. And in my mind, whereas to those kids, of course, Common Sense Guy is one of the ones that'd be snatching stuff out of their hands and trying to whatever the punk said. Of course, we're old men. In fact, I think that we're so much older than them that they'd probably consider us the same age, even though he's a young man to me. It could be the future history that could be written in this new era by wiser heads. That's all. I don't want to go off too much on that because I think about it, common sense, and it's painful. Immigration, to you all, to you, common sense. This is well done. In case you're wondering, Johnny Walker and Sprite.
Nice.
It is nice, very nice. Immigration. On immigration, we know it's a hot topic. We're going to do this as honestly as possible and invite debate and open discourse. We at LBP feel that we need to take control of our borders and have to limit the migration to be able to account for what's going on. We cannot have net migration of around 250,000 people a year, every year. Now, we know we need immigration to keep the economy growing. We need to make sure that illegal immigration is stopped, as this does not help the country in any way. Reason being that because they are illegal, they can only do low-paid jobs, if any job at all. This affects people in the lowest working classes, stopping them from getting jobs and driving wages down even further as an effect. The idea we have on immigration is something like the Australian points system. It works, it benefits the country as a whole. And last, but definitely not least, Brexit. Moving on to the idea of Brexit. We at the LBP believe in the power of democracy, meaning that a vote was taken by the people for the people to decide if they wanted to remain or leave the EU. The people voted to leave the EU, so we should leave the EU, not just in name, by being part of the custom union or single market. This doesn't mean we don't want to trade with the EU. It means that we, as the UK, want to trade with the whole world, not just the EU. A lot of people think we don't want any trade with the EU. We do. They're our biggest trade partners. We do not want them dictating the laws to us. We just want to trade with you and being allies. We want to trade with you, our allies. This doesn't mean following laws of other countries just to be able to trade with them. How can we have our own laws, our own sovereignty, and our own constitution? Let us be clear. We believe in the people of the country leading themselves, not being led by people unelected by the people of this country, the UK. This is a statement of our policies and the framework of how we would institute them.
Yeah, I'm honestly really happy with almost all of the policies that I've written. I mean, I can go back into most of them and go into more in-depth analysis about trying to explain how I would implement the policies more and how it would benefit the people that it actually affects, or how it hinders the people that it affects a bit more. But as a basis, and how it only took me a day to write as well, or rather, it took me a day to write, and that was basically yesterday. I don't think I've done too bad, to be honest.
No, no, but well, and also I would say this. The reason I believe that you did well, the reason I think it worked out the way it did, is because you weren't doing this for you. I mean, this isn't something you were doing for yourself. It appears by the way this was put together, in my mind, maybe it's because we think a lot alike in a lot of these situations. Could be that, but I don't believe that. I believe it's because you were able to step outside yourself and to really consider, okay, I'm king for a day. King pre 12:15. You dig it? I am king 11:10 and 11:10. In other words, anything you say is God-given law. And this is what we would do. And I gotta say, the problem is that I see what's happening with Trump over here. All right, it's one thing after the other. We got people attacking him in ways that our media would not have allowed. They just wouldn't have allowed. They would have stuck up for the president, no matter who they were, in any instance that I can think back, except for maybe Nixon. Why? Probably because Nixon, Reagan, and Trump. Yes, I said Nixon. They were the biggest. If I go back far enough, I'd have to say JFK, Nixon, Reagan, and Trump. I mean, you probably know JFK ran against Nixon and won. They ran against each other for president of the United States. We all know what happened to John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Back and to the right. Pow! Bam! Lone shooter, grassy knoll. Maybe his wife did it. Who knows? Somebody shot him. Was it the guy driving? Who fucking knows? Zapruder film. Babushka lady. The whole big thing.
Oh, the babushka lady is the best idea ever.
Babushka. And you know what it comes down to? Somebody fucking killed him in public, just like they did his brother shortly after.
Yep.
And who knows? I mean, we could say all kinds of shit. Look at all the crazies that want to kill Trump. I honestly believe this. For someone to get close enough to the president to actually, and even though I know that what everyone's thinking, oh, but there's people them boys that you see next to the president train, and girls now, those people you see next to the president. I'm not trying to be feminist. I'm just saying you got to give credit to any sex. So I'm giving it to every sex that does it, which is there's only two. So the boys and girls that protect the president, they train common sense like the beefeaters do, man. They like the guys with the big bear hats. They stand in the fucking sun till they pass the fuck out. People ask themselves, how can they do that? They train to do that for years.
Yeah.
And then they commit to it. The people that watch the president, they train for any twitch. And that's why the first thing you always see when that shit happens is the Secret Service with pistols firing at those people. They're always on guard. And there's 15 of them around. So even if 2 of them aren't exactly perfectly on point, I don't want to get rambling on this. I hope you dig what I'm saying. Now, MC's there. He would agree with me. He knows that the Secret Service.
That's where you're wrong. He disagreed with you. His brother was not killed in public.
Well, he was in the back. He was Sirhan shot him he was in a public building in the kitchen of a restaurant in the bottom of a large building.
Semantics.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that he was, but MCJK, I pointed out because he don't agree with me at anything. I could say the sky's blue and he'd be like, it's aqua blue.
Semantics are important though, Ogre. Semantics are important.
Yeah. I could say, hey man, that grass is green. He'd say, no, that's chartreuse. And then of course Jensen Quinn would say chartreuse is pink. Mandela effect, you know what I mean? So anyway, no, this tickles my fancy. I can already tell I'm going to cut your baby into pieces. I don't know if you'll even like it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do the whole thing before I give it to you. You either like it or you won't. And if you don't, you can only do what you can do. Because even when I'm done, somebody will have to cut up what I do. Because I think it'll probably still be too long. And won't be, he got me on the semantics there. It definitely won't be, you already see, I sent you a couple paragraphs. I am no better than you when it comes to fucking spelling and punctuation, mate. I'm just not. And why am I putting it in public? Because you and I write in public all the time. Everybody already fucking knows it anyway.
Yeah, RPR says the sky is bronze. It's not blue, it's bronze. Though I suppose you could argue that it depends on the time of day that you're looking at it,
Yeah, the
as in
sky's
sunrise
black.
and sunset.
The sky's black.
You're racist.
I am, but I don't know what that has to do with it. No, I'm becoming racist. Because I was wondering where in this that I'm reading, where is the part that it says that you know, that the jungle bunnies won't be able to intermix with the honkies. That will be not even a joke about that. No, there's no jokes about that. Huh?
No, not on an actual proper stream. No, no, we won't joke about that on a proper stream. On Monday stream or when, well, actually any other stream that we do, I would joke about that, and I would completely and utterly bite your hand off because of it. But as it's to do with a manifesto of the party, somebody might come back and look at it and go, "Well, you said at the beginning of this when you were setting out your things that you had a joke about bush bunnies." Like,
wrong time, wrong timing. Okay, this is my last Johnny and Sprite. I think when it comes down to is this: the governments that are in control, be they good, bad, indifferent, and right now I don't know. You'd have to, in my mind, you'd have to go to Palau or Vanuatu to find a good government. They don't really exist anymore, and when they do, they're these tiny little island governments that basically say the chief has the final word, and the chief only ever gives the final word on shit like don't fish for the red mackerel anymore because they're almost done. If you catch you with a red mackerel coming home, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass. I mean, that's honestly what it comes down to. And so they say, okay, and they go catch amberjacks. And, you know, if they catch a red, they throw it back. And that's what comes down to. But we don't have that. I know I keep sounding like a broken record to you, probably common sense. But as long as we're going to have, we should have a good. But I don't, man, once we give a government power, you know, everybody, and usually it's for the children or to make society safe. That's what they tell us. So we got to enact a law. Once they enact a law, man, you know this, they don't ever want to change it. I mean, we know because I mentioned Nixon, we know that since Nixon, that the war on drugs has been a ridiculous exercise in futility, that has been a complete and total waste of lives and money across the board. It has done absolutely nothing to save one junkie. It's done nothing to save one life. It's actually caused more junkies and taken many more lives than if the government never would have gotten involved in it. I mean, in this country in 1922, you could go and buy all the heroin you wanted. Maybe I'm a little early there. 1919 for sure. All the heroin you wanted. Go to Sears and Roebuck. They send it to you in a discreet brown package. Well, anyway, I could ramble on, but they don't. They're not going to take it away. The drug czar. We have a drug czar, like, you know, Peter the Great. We have a drug czar. The whatever. The National Drug Control. The policy, whatever it is. The NCAPP, full of jackass, dumb son of bitches that should go get a real job. They're there doing what? Not one of them could honestly tell you, if they were being honest with you, not one of them could tell you, I'm doing something that's changing the world and making the world a better place. No, that whole structure should be dissolved. But they won't. There's so much power there. There's so much money there. They're not going to let it go. They keep saying, I mean, they had that one asshole, I think it was a drug czar or his underling, in front of Congress, and Trey Gowdy was grilling him, and he was like, so tell me the difference between cocaine and marijuana. And he was like, well, we don't really see no difference. We don't like to make it. He's like, so you're saying that there's no difference between somebody smoking pot or somebody doing heroin? And he wouldn't. And then Gowdy's point was, if you can't make a distinction between an absolutely harmless thing and something that does harm, you're in the wrong job. This shouldn't exist. There's my long speech.
Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be able to determine that there are differences in everything that you choose to do. For instance, if you're going to run 1,500 meters compared to running, I don't know, 3,000 meters, there's fucking a difference in it. Even though it's basically the same thing, you're just doubling it. There's still differences for it, and you have to accustom for the differences. That's everything that is to do with politics. You just have to change to do with the differences.
Well, what about anyway? I'm not going to go. I don't want to go on to a complete drug tangent, but we have to remember that even though there's differences, we have a man called William S. Burroughs that lived. He was an excellent writer. I'm reading Junkie right now. He's I mean, The Naked Breakfast, or was it Naked Lunch? He's written he was a great writer, a great man. He was a junkie his whole life. He did interviews, and people would ask him, so how can you, they would ask him first, of course, the questions about being a junkie. Why don't y'all like to take baths and all these stuff? And he'd answer it and be nice. But then, of course, came the inevitable questions. Well, how do you function in life? I shoot my heroin and I do whatever everybody else does. So, I mean, in other words, he's exactly like everybody else, but he's chosen this one thing that has become a crutch. Why would he be a criminal then? I mean, I'm just so against anything like that. And I believe, if anything, in the prison part of it, crime in prison, I would say that if this was going to fly and you really wanted to save some money, it would be the decriminalization of all so-called illegal or Schedule 1 and 2 narcotics and or drugs. That would be, because I mean, you think of the money that we'd save incarcerating people right there. Think about the money that would be made on taxing people that sold it legitimately. I mean, whatever that may be, whether it's heroin, crack, methamphetamine. What's the worst thing? What's the worst drug, Mrs. Ogre? What's the worst one now? They get the one that's come fentanyl. Oh, never mind. Fentanyl. Isn't that the yes? Fentanyl. That's illegal, like a pharmaceutical drug anyway.
Yeah, just while we've got a quick second, my views are not supported in any way by the views of the yoga. But apart from that little quick joke of a disembowelment, the actual ideas in itself are very interesting ideas, because if you want to break it down, not necessarily in a political point, but in a social point, as in, what does the actual drugs do to harm anybody when somebody takes it? Now, the actual point, and I agree with Ogre on this one, if somebody wants to stick something in their arm or wants to ingest something either through their mouth or through their anus, that's up to them on what they want to do and how they want to do it. The problems that I have with anything to do with drugs is the aftermath and the bits in which they need to get and what they need to fund what they need to get. Those are
that has nothing to do with the drug.
Indirectly, you could, without going into semantics too much, the drug in itself is only supposed to give you a high and things like that. But unfortunately, with things that make you become addicted, and yes, I am including opiates in this as well, because even though it is a legal drug, opiates are still one of the worst fucking...
They're the worst. They're the fucking worst.
Yes, there's still some of the fucking worst drugs that anybody can take, and some of the most addictive drugs that anybody can fucking take.
Your doctor will hand them out to you like candy till they don't want to anymore, and then you find yourself... I mean, that happens to lots of people. Yeah,
so that's why I'm including those in what I'm just about to talk about as well.
Yeah, do it, because I want to hold your feet to the fire a little bit on this when you're finished.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not a problem. I'm happy to do so. The problems that I have is not in the drugs that somebody takes. If you want to take something, alcohol, fucking weed, fucking heroin, mushrooms, fucking whatever, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with what you take. It's what you need to do afterwards to be able to get your next hit. And now, if that means that you have to go and do criminal stuff to do that, then the drug is then a process to leading you to get to do to drugs. Now, if you take away the process, does that mean that you would necessarily stop the process of criminality? I don't know. I am not intelligent enough to be able to draw that comparison. I could allude to it and say, well, if you take away the process, then how can you then move on from the process? But if you're going to be a criminal to support any habit, then it doesn't matter what the habit is. So on that aspect, it's, for me, it's the case of what does it do afterwards? What do you have to do to get it? That's my problem with any drug.
So if someone doesn't do drugs, is it in your world that you're describing right now, if someone never did a drug, would it be okay for them to steal from someone else?
Of course not.
Okay. So in other words, whatever you're just, so let me put it to you this way. I'm gonna make it more difficult for you than I was going to. If I follow your logic, then no one could ever be a CEO of a company, because with power comes a desire for more power. And if they bought a yacht, well, maybe they'd be the next Bernie Madoff, and they'd invent a Ponzi scheme and bilk people of millions and millions of dollars and name their yacht Madoff money and go out and all these things. So by your same logic, the aftermath of success is the desire for more success. And in some cases, just as with drugs, the vast majority of people that are addicted to drugs do not rob for them. The vast majority. Probably, this is just not talking about my ass, but probably the same or less a percentage of CEOs that embezzle. But you see what I'm saying? So since that's the case, and even if it's not the case, even if more junkies rob than don't, why would you make something illegal? Because some people that do this thing may do things that are already crimes. When you could just prosecute the person for committing the crime when they do it. In other words, a junkie steals a lawnmower, stole the lawnmower, you're going to jail.
No, I agree. I agree with most of that. The only premise that I would completely and utterly change and say to you is the premise that you're using for the analogy of the CEO. Even if he was to use a Ponzi scheme, it would be, even though it is what you would call morally wrong, ethically wrong, it's not criminally wrong, because you're not forcing anybody to give you anything, and you're not forcibly taking anything off of anybody.
Oh, now, you're stealing from them. It's called confidence, man. You've gained, I'm sorry to interrupt, but yes, there's no difference between a Ponzi scheme or me stealing your lawnmower out of your garage when you're not looking. There is no difference. There
is a difference. Now, as I said,
all right,
I completely know. No, I'll explain. The reason why there is a difference is because one is morally and ethically wrong, as in I am going to convince you that the best way of you investing your money is from me taking it and you getting confidence, or from going out and joining a pyramid scheme or anything else like that. It's a case of I am convincing you. I am not forcibly removing from you. There's the difference.
Oh, is that all? No, there's no difference. In fact, I would say this. The only argument I'll make for you, the only argument that I see that logically could be made, is that people involved in a Ponzi scheme are generally joining out of greed. So when you said moral, I didn't know that you were going to say that was because both of those are immoral. Both things, stealing a lawnmower, a Ponzi scheme, are both immoral. I mean, a Ponzi scheme, for those of you that don't know, is a pyramid scheme of the highest magnitude. It's getting investors. As investors come in, you pay off people that already invested with the new investors. Eventually, the bottom of the pyramid is not enough to pay, and it collapses. Depending upon how long it goes, in the case of Enron, the bottom 90% get stuck holding the bag. And the worst part is, only in this case, 1 or 2 people went to prison for it. It wasn't like 75 people like were involved in it or more went to prison for it. So look, common sense, I'm going to say this again. Why is it that if I am, and I could use anything, I use CEO because that was the farthest apart, but what about gambling? Should gambling be legal?
Yeah.
Okay, but the aftermath of that could be I could spend my children's tuition. I could borrow money from a loan shark, get my legs broken. I will be, that's a very addictive thing. I mean, the slot machines were helped, the way they pay off, it's called a rotating set schedule. It was designed by B.F. Skinner, and he actually designed it with the slot machine people. That's no joke, a psychologist. And he's the one that taught pigeons to turn and peck when they saw a sign that said turn and peck. He invented a thing called the Skinner box. And Bandera, too, if you care to know, Albert Bandera, he was also in on this. They both got paid millions of dollars. They figured out that if you get rewarded in a certain sequence, if you know it's coming, but you don't know when, and it's got, oh man, it's called a rotating set schedule. There's no way the human brain can figure it out. You just know you're going to get a reward, and it is when you mentally gotta fucking have it to continue. And then when you get it, you will continue until you get, and then it just keeps you going. It keeps you going like that pigeon turning and pecking. I mean, you see what I'm saying? You said aftermath, so I'm kind of trying to keep drawing parallels to where.
I completely understand where you're going with the premise. That's why I stated at the beginning, I have no problem with people doing the drugs. I have no problem with people doing the gambling. The problem is afterwards, if you choose to do those sort of things, you have to deal with the consequences. And those consequences, as you are going to be addicted, and as you can be addicted to certain things, you have to deal with those consequences. Now, sometimes that means that you have to deal with the fact that you've got caught robbing something, or the fact that you started hitting your wife because you can't pay the bills anymore. So you're talking about what's going on and shouting and screaming. Those are all, unfortunately, the personal choices that those individuals have made.
Mm-hmm. I still see. Look, I'm done burning your feet, but I'm still going to say that you don't have a leg to stand on, because so far you've defended CEOs and you've defended addicted gamblers, but I still haven't heard you say, well, Ogre, you've changed my mind. I don't think that drugs should be illegal, because we already have laws that would protect us against anything that someone that was addicted to a drug that was choosing to hurt themselves. We already have laws that would protect the children that they have. We'd take them away. Everything is already protected. So if someone wants to go to hell in their own special way, bon voyage.
Would you agree that prevention is better than cure, or is cure better than prevention?
I think education, I'm not trying to be combative here, but if you're saying prevention, in other words, you let it be legal. You take kids on field trips once a year when they're in the 8th, 9th, 10th grade down to the worst part of Needle Park, where they see the junkies scratching on the corner and drooling and dying and puking and shitting in their pants. And you say, hey, look, this is what happens when you shoot heroin. And then tell them all about it. I mean, education. So yes, prevention. In fact, when it comes to addiction to drugs, prevention is the absolute best. To quote an old adage, what you don't know cannot hurt you. So if you never shoot up that first spike, never take that first drink, but the only way that's going to happen is if it's not taboo, where people get this rush from doing it. So it's socially allowed, but also what the consequences are. There'll still be people that do it, but the numbers would drop. They do. I mean, it happens in every society. So, boom, I think we could agree to disagree too. I understand common sense that some of these topics are always going to be, I could say, oh, social program, whatever. You could say, oh, you're just a druggie. I mean, we both could have our own reasons on why we stand fast.
You know me a lot better than that, Mr. Ogre. I would never go on to ad hominems or join on personal.
Well, I wouldn't say what I said about you. That's why I threw two ridiculous things. But we could do that to each other all day. But in the end result, I don't know. It doesn't take away from this manifesto in the least bit, or that you could still, I will concede this since you haven't conceded anything to me. You could still be for personal choice and believe that drugs should be regulated.
I believe that's what my position already was. The fact is that I said that at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what your position is. I just disagreed with it.
No. Okay, fine. That was my position in general, that even if you would go to do gambling, I think gambling is bad, and I think that it's a case that it's a fucking stupid thing to fucking do. Does that mean that I want to outlaw it? No. Does it mean that I think that Ponzi schemes, are fucking bad? Of course I fucking do. There's no fucking two ways about it. But the difference is, for the Ponzi scheme, is the fact that it's not forcibly taking something away from you. All it is doing is convincing you that we need your money, we want your money, we want your time. Yes, as I said, I still think it's wrong, but it's not legally wrong because they're not forcibly taking anything away from you. That's the difference on the Ponzi scheme. On the gambling, that's different to the I don't think there is any difference. It's just a case that everybody that gambles doesn't get addicted. Everybody that would do heroin is addicted.
Oh, that's not true.
Okay.
Everyone that's ever done heroin is not addicted. And everyone that's done, I mean, to put it this way, if you sit at the flashing lights that Albert Bandera and B.F. Skinner created, that I told you about, if you sit at those slot machines, common sense guy, for 72 hours. Now, I mean, only bathroom breaks and the minimal sleep. You can only get 4 hours of sleep a day. I know this would be accelerating the process, but you would be addicted. The guy that shot all those people up in Vegas, I can't remember his name, and I don't even care to say it if I could remember. We don't want to give these people glory by saying their name. I think you're the first one to say that, so we're not going to give him glory. But the jackass that shot all the people up in Vegas, he was a millionaire. He was addicted to video poker, and there's a reason. It's the rotating set schedule. So I would counter by saying I disagree. When it comes to roulette, especially roulette, blackjack, craps, because those are the same thing. They just do it by odds. If you're playing roulette and you're playing on the 36, you got 1/36 chance. Just on the right time, you're going to hit. The odds say it's a rotating set schedule just by design, brother. That's why these games have worked for so long. I mean, B.F. Skinner wrote a whole paper about it. Look, and all I'm saying is, and we're going too long. Let me stop by saying this. I don't succeed. I don't concede anything. But you're very intelligent. You're a great interlocutor. And do you know this guy, Top Dead Center? Welcome, Top Dead Center. Looks like we have somebody that I don't know out in the chat. So glad that you're here tonight.
I've seen a couple out there, and Top Dead Center has been interacting with all of us. He's enjoyed, well, seems to anyway, seems to have been enjoying most of the stuff that we've been talking about and the conversations, to the point where he is actually subbed to the channel. So thank you very much, Top Dead Center, for that one.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know if I missed anybody. That's the name that I see today quite a lot too. He's really been interacting, as you say, out there, the things he's saying, because as most people know out there, to quote Captain Colepile, this is kind of a bar setup. And for lack of a better way to give an analogy, Common Sense Guy and I are basically the band. And we're bitching at each other and arguing about something, as we usually do, or we're talking about our ideas and our philosophies and what we consider best or worst in life, whatever it may be. And the entire time we're playing those songs, why the patrons at the bar, they're communicating amongst each other. And so I think Cap is right. And that's what makes this so important to me, what we do here. That's why it's bittersweet as I see Common Sense Guy growing, and it's bittersweet. When we have a small group like this, it sure does make for a nice, intimate thing. So, yep, good to have you here, too. And we won't spend a lot of time kissing anybody's butt. I think we've done that long enough now. We do appreciate you being here, though. Go check out some of these other people that hang around here, and you'll enjoy them, too. Like maybe Nachi Free, but I haven't been able to get a hold of him in a couple days. I'm sure I will.
Well, either.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get him on for something special. But I don't want it to be gun debate. I want Nachi to like me, and if he debates me in guns, I really won't be easy. I'm not sure he'd like me at the end of it. It'd be like, listen, honey, I want to just get this anal one time. We'll still be friends. We'll still be fuck buddies, and she'll never call you again.
Just before we move on to any sort of different subject, I'm going to ask the chat now. Think of any sort of discussion points or questions that you actually want to ask us. That especially goes for Top Dead Center, obviously being new. If you want to ask us any questions on how and what we think and feel or whatever, then just ask us. We generally look at the chat very well.
Yeah, and Cap says that he's riveted to this. So if he's riveted to what we've been talking about, I just sent him a little question if he could swing by. Common Sense, I don't think he'd mind if Cap could, if he could.
And he's more than welcome to, as most people.
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind just sitting back and trying to stretch my shut the hell up muscle for a while I listen to what someone else thought about these ideas. Oh, he's free. Yeah, so let's get him. So look in Discord, Cap. I'm sending you a link right now. And anyone else that wants to come on, tell me how to get a hold of you. We could probably take maybe one more, Common Sense, maybe two more. We're not going to go with many more than four. So maybe we could take one more other than Cap. So check Discord, Cappy. I'll send that out to you right now in your personal messages.
Well, what we can do, instead of having more and more people on, as people like Warski and JF and people like that do, we can have a drop-in call. So we can have people that would come in to ask a particular question. Then we can talk about what we think and feel about the question. They can then retort us on the question, and then we can finish off with that bit. And then we can ask somebody else to come in to do their own question and do that all the way through. And then after the person's finished the question, go back to the chat, so to speak.
That's absolutely fine with me. And now, you got to have the balls to send it out in the general chat. Hell, there's only 13 people here. I mean, if there was some spy or something that went, I mean, we've had shit crash before. All you do is kick them out, say we're closing it down to anybody else. So you know what I mean? So it's not, I don't know. It's just totally up to you, baby. This is your show.
Instructions has got it completely and utterly correct. It says, I'm free now if you were curious on my take, and then you put after Cap. So if Cap takes, like, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes to do his, then memes can come on for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Then if somebody else wants to come on for 5 to 10 minutes after that, then we get up to about 10 to 11.
Okay, I see Cap too. I'm getting a Cap. I'm opening up Twitter right now. I'm not. I mean, everybody that knows me close knows me. If you send me a message, especially if it's on, I mean, if you send me a message anywhere, expect that I could get right back to you, but expect 12 hours. Shit, sometimes I look and it's 18 hours. That's just because I don't really check. I have no notifications set whatsoever, and I don't live on Twitter.
To be fair, I had. Do you remember Aaron Tolford or Tolford Aaron?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Aaron Chicken.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Thank you, Cap. I'm just looking for you on Twitter. Go ahead, comment. Sorry.
Yeah, he asked me today, dear Common Sense Guy, do you reckon that I should take Twitter seriously, or do you think that I should be like the Britisher and do blah blah blah? I just said to him, well, that's up to you. Hello there, Mister. How are we doing today?
Hi, Common Sense. Hi, Ogre. How y'all?
Good, brother. We want to hear what you think about this whole shebango.
Yes, please.
I love this whole idea. I think this whole idea is awesome. And I got one question, because I heard you guys talking about this the other day, but I was listening and I couldn't talk. Is this Liberal British Party, this LBP? This is a party that you and some of the other guys in this community. Is this a new party you're trying to form?
Yes.
Yes, and then make no mistake, this is something that's why I keep saying this is the inaugural even talk of it. So this is something that is completely the brainchild of Common Sense Guy. I'm not saying that because I'm going to distance myself. I actually want to come closer to it. But yes, so when this is talked about it, what I think it came about from is Maz, and he got to, and yes, and Maz idea wise. But hell, I mean, after they thought of it, I was asked if I thought it was a good idea, and I was like, yeah, lads, he just did it. So here's the point. I think it's a response to the liberal movement by Sargon, and that maybe there was people see that maybe that wasn't completely good, and that it was only like a YouTube thing. And my brother, Common Sense Guy, has aspirations of one day running for office. So yes,
indeed.
Running for MP or something like that. Now, here, I got a little bit of a critique. Now, don't take this the wrong way.
No, please go ahead.
But as a new party, you're wanting to draw new people to your party. And I think what your manifesto did, now like I say, I liked some of the ideas. I disagreed with some of them because I listened to Ogre read the whole thing. I was driving home from work. And I'm afraid you're getting into minutia of policy with that manifesto. And I think what you need to do right out of the gate, and this is just my opinion, is to grab people. And and from what I can tell, out of that whole manifesto, the Constitution, I believe, is your selling point.
Yes,
and you can get into this minutia of policy later. Now, see, the way I'm gonna go a little bit long here. The way I understand British politics to work, this national politics to work, is that each of the major parties, at least, have a shadow government in place ready to go. Right? I mean, you have Corbyn is the Labour shadow MP, and there's a Labour shadow exchequer. That's right. Am I correct?
Correct, indeed. Yes, you are correct.
So I think what you are trying to get to is to that point, that you can form a shadow government, even though it's a small shadow government. And I'm afraid you're getting into minutia of policy that people that won't gravitate to. Or it's, I think you need an overall general theme, and really hammer the Constitution. I'm just trying to get. I'd love to see it grow into a point where it's some sort of a political force, and I'm just afraid that you're going to turn people off with all these with talking about what prisoners do in the prisons and all this other stuff. So and I'm just going to throw that out there, and maybe I'm wrong.
No.
What do you guys think?
I definitely don't think that you're wrong, my friend. I really don't think that you're wrong.
What have I been working on, Common Sense Guy? Just be transparent with him and tell him what I first started working on.
Yeah, Ogre's been working on basically a rendition of trimming all of the fat down
the Constitution, though. That's right where I started. Right what he said was a strong part of this. That's right where I started, because I can't agree more.
Well, I agree. I agree with that completely. That's where I was going to actually go down to the fact of I do believe that we do need a constitutional democracy, or most importantly, in my belief, a form of a constitutional republic. I've probably explained this on Wednesday, but I believe in using what we would call counties and turning them into what you would call states, and doing it in a particular way like that. So more people would have more ways of actually being run as a democratic point. In other words, more people would have one vote, and one voice, rather than London being the prominent fucking voice in the UK. The main reasons why I've gone down the ways of doing these type of policies is because I believe that those type of policies are what would grab most of the people in the UK. I.e., that's the reason why I've gone on the form of benefits. Because most people on the idea of benefits for us in our social netting either like the idea or completely dislike the idea. And I do agree with you in the idea that I have probably gone down a minutiae level, as in a more of a centrist point, to where I'm trying to say, well, I want people to be able to use the social netting, but at the same point, I don't want immigrants being able to use the to come into the country and use the benefit system. The same as in the immigration policy and things like that. Unfortunately, these are just policies that are needed to be put into there, because if somebody was to ask me later on down the road, oh, what's your policy on education, for instance, I can then just point to this and go, that's my policy on education. I want the funding that is going to education at this moment in time, instead of it going to the councils, I want it to go to the schools, so the schools in the area can actually have a better chance and a better choice of what they want to do.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. I'm just afraid, and it might be just my Americanism showing through, but and I don't know if Ogre can attest to this or not, but people tend, if you're trying to grab people, and maybe this is just your first thing, and that's fine. But if you're trying to grab people, I think you just want to get their attention, and then and then later you can go into them. Because
yes,
as an American, if you hand me that piece of paper or that sheaf of papers and I start reading through it, my eyes are going to start glazing over. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And that's my fear. I don't want this thing to fall. And stuff. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I need to let you finish. Or go ahead. Well, and if you're done, what I'm saying very quickly is that when you present them too, don't get me wrong, all of the things need to be written out and ready. But what's presented to the public, even though now basically the entire platform has been presented to the public, I highly doubt this will be taken down. I know Common Sense guy, I don't think it'll ever be taken down. But nope. the best part of the point, Common Sense, is once they're out there, then too, it's all for scrutiny. Where not that you shouldn't be under scrutiny, but the idea still being to draw lambs into the fold. So now if you, I, everyone, Maz, especially Maz too, that are involved in this, if we focus on very tightly giving constant mission statement, constitution, basically, make those things.
That's what I was thinking, Ogre.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's exactly what I was thinking. Just an overall general, this is our policy, and then a constitution. And a constitution is a thing that it's going to be, it's a bear. And I know I'm probably not capable of writing one, but I've got ideas.
You can kick in, though, dude. You can kick in.
Exactly.
Shit.
But what I'm saying is, you got a lot of good, smart people between this stream and Bollocks and Ogre, and maybe have Quinn set up just a Discord channel on the Ogre site, or even set up a new Discord, and hammer out a constitution or something, and people can toss in ideas, and it could be like the Independence Hall of YouTube or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just what I was thinking coming home, and I love this idea. I think the United Kingdom needs a constitution. It needs freedom of speech. It needs the rights of self-protection. It needs the rights of liberty, and because we took that liberty, we culturally appropriated from England, and now England's fallen behind, and I love the idea, and I've been riveted all the way home, and that's just I'm just throwing shit out there. So,
very good,
what do you guys think?
Captain Copile. And let's let him have a little more ramble if he can when you're done, Common Sense. I think you still got about 3 or 4 minutes on your time here, Cap. Because was that it? Was it just, even though you did say that you'd like it to be more clear, concise, and not open to so much criticism right at the beginning, so we could maybe get some people in on it. it was there any points either in the, especially in the Constitution, the preamble, you know, in the whole preamble there, was there anything that you would like to share with us that you would change or add?
I would have to go. I would really like to read it, because the only thing
I'll send it to you, sir.
I've listened to it. I've listened to you read it, and it'd be tough for me to go back and pick out points. And I'm going to read it. Definitely, I'm going to read it and study it, because I think the ideas in there were great. I'm just afraid of coming out of the gate with this new party. I'm just afraid you're going to turn people off, and we all agree. I mean, you're preaching to the choir, I think, mainly on these channels, but you got to go outside of this, and
definitely.
And I really would love to see this go, and I would really love to say, hey, I knew Common Sense Guy when he was a YouTuber. Now he's the fucking prime minister. And
Me too, brother.
So yeah, that's just where I would just like to see. I'm just maybe it's just, I don't want to be critical, but just a quick mission statement with an overall party line, and then hammer out a constitution and give people here, and then here's what we stand for, this Constitution, and then you can draw your policies out of that Constitution. So that's just my my quick thing.
No, I completely appreciate what you're saying. The only thing is, I've only literally started doing this yesterday. I only literally wrote this all yesterday. I come up with all the ideas and everything yesterday, all the policies and everything. I haven't been able to write a constitution just as yet, though I do have 3 days coming up. So I don't know. I might be able to pull one out. I'll let everybody know. But you do make an exceptionally good point. I do like the idea of a constitution. I really want to push that idea. But first of all, I really want to push on the idea of Brexit, because if we are going to form a party soon or get any political traction soon, that is the hot topic of the day. So I need to push that agenda as a massive agenda first. The agenda after that would be immigration. So then that topic would be next. And then it's the NHS in our country and national services. So that's the reason why I've pushed those three the hardest, and why I've put so much effort into explaining the policies in those sections the most.
Yeah, okay. To me, because Brexit's probably not a big deal, and it probably went right over my head as an American, as an Englishman or a Briton, it probably is central to you. So maybe let that be your selling point. Yeah. But you need to sell this thing, and like I say, UKIP is no more, and so there's a vacuum there, and try to get into that vacuum, because I'm sure there's a large vacuum there, area there that's to be filled up. So yeah, I'm all for it. So whatever it takes, if it's a constitution, if it's Brexit, that you need to get people involved now, and then you can set up your constitution or whatever, and then you can set up a shadow government, and then you're rolling. I just think you're rolling.
I appreciate it.
You know, it's not going to be big. It might take 20 years to elect somebody to Parliament, but you know, all snowballs start out with a pebble. So
yep.
So yeah.
No, but very, very true and wise words spoken by yourself there. It only the longest journey starts with a single step. We can all use those type of analogies, but they're all correct. If you don't start something, you can never get to where you want to go. And I do appreciate people coming on and giving advice as well. So, if anybody else wants to come on and give any sort of advice, don't start off by saying, "Oh, I'm going to have to creak and I'm sorry about it." Just give me the critique, because it's so much better hearing it. Ideas need to be expanded upon, not sheltered. Not for me to decide, well, I'm happy with what I got and fuck the rest of you. That's not how this party, if it ever comes to fruition properly, would ever be run. It's a case of, it is a people's party. We need to decide together. It's like when me and Oga were talking about drugs and things like that. Just because I have a particular view and Oga has a particular view on drugs, that doesn't really matter. We're individuals. The individual counts, yes, but when it comes to a form of democracy, it needs to be a consensus. So it would have to be a joint decision. Just because you stand on different policies doesn't mean you can't stand on the decision of a democracy.
Wise words. Wise words. Hey, Ogre, I'll jump out and let somebody else jump in. And I want to see this thing go, man. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, no
Thank
worries.
you very
Thank you
much,
so much
Coach
for swinging by, brother. It was great. And I'm not sure. Hopefully
guys.
that somebody was just waiting because we can talk shit all day, but Cap's done. So I think next in line was
Memes of Destruction.
Mad Dodge Production or Memes of Destruction. Yeah. I sent both of them a link. More than welcome to swing on by. We'd like to hear what you think. And what did you say, Memes of Destruction to begin with? Is that what you said? And I was thinking Mad Dodge Productions. Probably heard wrong. Getting fucking old, dude. I didn't turn my headphones up.
No, it was Means of Destructions first, and then it was Mad Dodge if you wanted to come on for a little bit.
The only thing I can say about getting old, common sense, is it's better than the alternative.
Yes, nobody wants to die.
Yes, nobody wants to die. There he is. Well, there's Mad Dodge. So we'll give. Tell you what. Let me ramble here for just about a minute, and if Memes of Destruction doesn't come on, we'll let you cut you loose here, Mad Dodge, because we're going to give everybody at least a good 10 minutes to say what they want. And with me here, it's already tough enough because I'm going to probably pipe up when least wanted. So remember the mute buttons there. And here's Memes. So carry on, Memes. You are here and burning our airtime, sir.
Are you there, Memes?
All right, we'll go right on to Mad Dodge Production because that was at least a minute.
Well, I jumped in a little bit late, so I just want to ask a question. Have you guys discussed anything about free communication ideas in the internet age to add to this Constitution? As in, you can't get in trouble for violating so-called hate speech type laws. I mean, don't you think you would want to add something like that in there?
Yeah, that's in the mission statement. It's one of the first things. In fact, once you're once you tell him about that common sense, what I'll do is I'll look that up, and it's short. I'll read that again.
Yeah, sure. Basically, it was my first mission statement, which is the main thing that I want to stand against, which is the case of any sort of form of government turning into an authoritarian dictatorship, basically, by deciding that if anything can be interpreted to be grossly offensive or offensive, then that would be classified as a crime, and that's a ludicrous statement, because the lunacy in the statement is the fact that it's a subject crime, meaning that there's no proof to be able to say that that crime is definitively a crime. Is completely and utterly subjective, and for any sort of society to work on the idea of criminalizing think or criminalizing interpretation is absolutely ludicrous and should not stand in any civil society.
You know what, too? Just because I think I'll read my streamlined version, because I was maybe the originator thinks that I took an idea, but I want him to hear it too, read, because I don't think it did common sense. I think that I may have just streamlined a little bit, but if not, too, if when I'm done, if you're like, no, fuck you, read the original one, I will. But here we go. It says, we, the Liberal Britain Party, would stop the practice of authoritarian laws. Hate crime does not exist. Using someone's subjective words, thoughts, art, or any expression to charge that person with a crime based on one's objective views, very important, based on one's objective views is abhorrent. Speech shall not be abridged. Only when the speech is a call to arms or harmful action may laws be put into place regarding the free expression of a person's thoughts, beliefs, views, artistic expression, or any other form of symbolic or actual speech. The Liberal Britain Party know that to learn, one must be open to offense. We would remind all of the words of Winston Churchill. Offense can never be given, only taken. In order to protect freedom of speech as well. No, I'm getting too far. That's actually the cut down at the beginning.
Okay, so you do extend the free speech type hate laws into actual hate crimes, because I would go that step further. It does.
It actually says hate. It doesn't exist. That's how I worded it. Hate crime does not exist.
Have you given any thought to a Second Amendment type edition. Also, I wasn't watching the show, guys. I was on
that's
Molt's
fine.
show.
Now let me
Letter,
read,
so.
because he wasn't here. So let me very quickly read Common Sense Guy's words, which will it ties into this too. So we believe that having a constitution in the democratic process that will protect the individual rights of the citizenry from the government in all aspects thereof. This constitution will give rights that will protect aspects such as free speech, being able to defend your home, yourself, and your family, the right to privacy in your own home, the police or other government not being able to enter your home without provocation. This would also apply to the general public as well. Other point, and then it says that we would debate what else should be added to that.
Wow, yeah, you're pretty spot on right out the gate. I mean, because you're not going to go full ANCAP, and you wouldn't even gain any traction. So
no, this isn't even close to
mean,
ANCAP. This is just
I
a
know,
really
exactly,
good streamlined government.
Yeah, you're right on point, boys. I don't know if I could really add much without you guys going into it more. I wish I was watching the whole time. Then I would have more to add.
No worries, my friend. The link's in the description box below. If you want to have a read of it, and then I don't mind coming on your show to begin with to talk about it if you want for a little bit.
Absolutely. I'll bounce out of here and give that a read and listen to you guys continue on. Thanks for having me on for a few minutes. I'm sorry I was ignorant on the subject.
You're not ignorant, my friend. You're not ignorant. Anybody is allowed to ask any questions. It doesn't matter. There is no stupid questions. There's only questions that you need answering.
Yeah, and thank you, brother. We appreciate it. Sorry that most of your time was taken up in explanation, but it does, as we said, it's already up here. The whole thing was read. And once again, we just thank you so much for everybody for listening. I appreciate it, and thanks for coming by. And now, memes of destruction.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Not much, brother. What is it? What is it? What are you doing?
All right. So I like a lot of what I'm hearing. So I remember I got a chance to look at it a little bit the other day, review it a bit more today as I read through it. I'm not sure if I've actually read the most up-to-date version, but just the concept is beautiful. It's kind of like Captain hit on an extremely important point. Just keep it simple. I mean, the sheer fact that you actually have answers to questions that people will have, those are beautiful. But like a wise man once said, TLDR, if you throw a massive wall of text at people, you're going to start confusing people. So I had a wise professor in college. What he taught us how to do was how to write a professional memo. And what he would always say is focus on 3 to 5 points, because let's just face it, like your average person or whoever it is, if you have like 12, 15, 19, 37 points, it's going to go over their head. If you have 3 to 5 core points that are very important to a number of folks, I mean, that's just a political party in and of itself. I do like that list that we had there. If you could kind of boil it down to like 3 to 5, probably about 5 or so core principles, and then just kind of have it in a presentation, whether it's being hammered out in a Discord or something like that. Maybe create like a little WordPress site, just like a very basic web page. You could list those. And then if somebody's interested, then they can see the fuller version. And then if you actually have like the policy there as well, then they can just delve into that. So it's just keeping it as simple as possible. I mean, personally, I like the law. I like the work-related stuff for the prisons and everything. I'm like, wait a second. So what you're saying is you're incentivizing prisoners to actually like go out there and work, or maybe develop skills, like actually like contribute to society and or their rehabilitation, and they get better shit. I'm like, that right there sounds like World of Warcraft to me.
My favorite part of other than the preamble stuff memes was, you heard me even question, because all day I'm thinking, this is what I'm going to ask him. This is what I'm asking. When I asked, that means they get better pillowcases and better pillows and a real mattress. Yes, of course. They choose to go whip weeds on the side of the M5. Yeah, they can come home and sleep in a real bed. They're going to need to sleep because they're working.
Man, all of a sudden, and guess what? You're contributing to society,
yes,
and you're getting better shit. So rather than just, well, I'm just going to sit in my cell and just like watch HBO all day, it's like, okay. One, you're not going to get a chance to do that. But if you want to have a better time and actually have better stuff than maybe your bunkmate or the dude across the hallway, Yeah, you can work for it. So it's instilling like work ethic in folks that, because I mean, a lot of times what happens, somebody gets out of jail, they've just been hanging around for how many years, they've lost maybe some skills and stuff. They just give them the shit and just freaking kick them out. Oh, look, they end up back in there. I wonder why. Because they're out of the groove, man, especially for many years. If you can foster a good, strong work ethic in folks, I mean, I just happen to think it's better to have a bunch of folks that are free, working, contributing to society than being in jail.
Well, that's the only reason why I believe that we've had an advantage over people that haven't been to university means, because what is university but being used to going and listening to people drone on forever and then remembering what they said and being able to reproduce the correct answer. You know, it's really, let's not say correct, the right answer in the professor's mind, because there's many times as I've waved the book around, I've went to gender studies and all kinds of stuff. Well, the equivalent of gender studies in the 90s, okay, but it's very, very similar.
We used to call them social studies.
Hey, well, it was okay. It was right when social studies and the social sciences were breaking off into these two opposing factions. One being the Jordan Petersons. Mrs. Ogre, I'll show it before I leave. She just got a couple weeks ago 12 Rules, and she's reading through it right now.
Nice.
Yes, she bought it and she's reading it.
I'm going to see him in Boston next month.
And look, it's very tough for me because I don't have a huge following on my narration part of my channel, so I'm not going to stray from fiction. The next book I'll read will be The Drawing of the Three by Stephen King. But I'm tempted to narrate that book because just like, okay, I'm sitting here reading Common Sense Guys and hopefully what will become this wonderful idea of the LBP. I'm reading this, I'm thinking about it, and you know, it feels good to purvey ideas that I know will better mankind. And without, I just realized you're here for a short time, so without sucking the wind out, because next, folks, if Common Sense Guy's okay with it, I'm going to send the link out, or he will, right out into the general chat. We could take probably 2 more before him and I have our last words.
Yeah, no, all I got to say is, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sushi.
No, I was just saying, sounds good to Ogo. You carry on, my friend. I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Oh, yeah, no, the last 2 things I just wanted to contribute to this was that Mr. Ogre hits on a good point. And I do value Mr. Ogre taking the quote-unquote devil's advocate position, because what does that do? That helps you question yourself. You need to come at it from the opposite. Even if it sounds like a great idea, you need somebody to dissent, because what's that do? That puts it under pressure. That puts heat on it. You're literally forging your ideas into better ideas that way. The only other thing I had to contribute other than that was, reach out to some other folks there that you might think this might be important to. I would throw out Uzulu over there as well, and maybe kind of get his thoughts. I know he's been on before, so that's all I got to say about that. And
I'm sure we'll have OTO on, and maybe even though he's getting big britches, Common Sense Guy will get Wild Smile on one day to discuss this kind of thing. But I would really like Uzulu and On the Offensive.
Well, On the Offensive is reading it at this moment in time. He's we
know what he's doing. I don't think we're allowed to say it on air, but we know what he's doing. It's not reading that. He will be reading it after a wild weekend of debauchery.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of envious of that kid. He's off having fun. But again, we're just not going to get too much into his personal life. But I think he actually said something about it. But again, I don't know. What can we say? And besides, I want to live vicariously. So if we make it real here, if we keep it a secret, I can more like I'm there with him, like come pie. They drink that. What's it called? They got this beer over there. He lives in Vietnam. And that's not where he's going to be this week, but he does live in Vietnam. And they have this beer that's called, it's the equivalent, the English translation is new beer, Common Sense. And it doesn't have any preservatives or anything. They brew that beer. It's good for about 36 hours before it goes skunky and bad. But I mean, it's the best. I've never had it, but from what I've heard of people that have been over there, my uncle who was in Vietnam in the war, he said it's the best fucking beer on God's earth. It tastes kind of almost like a wheat beer, but it's like a lemony. It's just so good. He said it's so good that you'll drink so much you'll wish you were dead the next day.
Best kind of night.
Yes, it is. It is. When you're staggered home like an Irishman, and you're looking up at the stars, and you just no worries. Of course, no worries. Oh Lord, no! What you've got here, mate, is the rough outline of one of the best ideas that I've seen in a long time. Allow me just a couple minutes because I know that I'm not going to beg. If y'all want to come in, Maz. You can see the fucking link right there, Maz. This is your idea. What are you, chicken shit now? So, and then because we got room for 2 more people, and I don't want to just take my last word up, and I've got something to say there, so I'm not. But I don't want everybody to think that, oh, Common Sense has his buddy on, and of course his big buddy, fucking ogre, is going to. No, I'm really critical. There's a lot of bloat on here. It needs to be cut down. I'm really ruthless about it. I can already see I've got to be gentle. I've got to understand that this man has put, because you said you did this in a day, but you didn't come up with these fucking ideas yesterday, mate. Sorry. You could never convince me of that. These are things that you have been thinking about probably your adult life. Yeah. This is the culmination of what you see society could be if it was being operated in a proficient manner, if it was being taken care of like it should be taken care of. So I tell you, man, when I look at this, I said it before, I'm going to say it one more time. It warms my heart to know that I don't have to only believe that the next generation is the maniacs that I see. They seem to get a lot of press, Common Sense Guy. And here we are. And I'm not going to disparage any of these people. We got 13 people here with us today. And we love and respect each and every one of you. We would love and respect each and every one of you if there was 13,000 people here with us today. And on in this particular channel, that's what we hope for. On Common Sense Guy's channel, that's what we hope for one day, for that kind of forum. But until then, it makes me happy to know that you put this effort in. And brother, if it could be implemented tomorrow, be given to a team of political wizards, a whole room full of 20 to 32-year-old whiz kids, man. Don't sleep for 3 days and just take these ideas and put it in the vernacular of politics. It would be the plan for the best society that I could ever imagine. Oh, that's it. I'm done kissing your ass. I mean, he's waiting. There's a big pause. There's like, continue, sir, continue.
I'm still thinking that there was a big, old, hairy, massive butt coming.
No, there's no but. No. Well, I mean, I could, but I said that before, and there's a time for that. No, I don't praise people with butts. I don't like to give backhanded compliments. There's too many people do that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I'll have butts in our discussion. I did today. I mean, people know I don't agree wholeheartedly with it. It's just not the time to point it out after I say it was a good job. It was a good job, mate. It really was. I mean, I'll go with memes. Go ahead, man. What?
I was just about to say, fucking Mad Dodge has only literally just subscribed to me with the fucking Red Eye Live channel. Bastard. I subscribed to your channel and you didn't subscribe to mine, you bastard.
Yeah. And as Captain Copile said, it took 55 delegates to do the treasonous act of drafting a constitution in 4 months. Why do I say treasonous? We had the Articles of Confederation. The Constitution is a government coup. It was a soft coup. I think some people will know that. Mad Dodge will know that. I like our Constitution, Common Sense, but I liked the Articles of Confederation even better. It was assumed then that you had the right to bear all of your rights were there, and then some. It was just assumed you could do whatever you wanted to do if you didn't harm, or kill. That's it. Don't steal, don't harm. I think those were the 2 rules. So I don't know, man. We give them. It's almost 2 hours we've been going, and no one's popping by. We give them every opportunity. I don't know. Maz is just not doing it. I've not even looked at your responses out there, Maz, because I would rather have your responses in here. But I'm assuming he's got some kind of sissified, rarefied reason.
He said that his day is a Wednesday, and he's and he's walking away.
No, he didn't even. It was like Wednesday. He didn't even really. We didn't even cover this. Oh, man, today's your day. That's fine. That's fine. Because as we both were thinking, oh my Lord, I don't know what Mrs. Ogre is cooking out there. It smells like fucking heaven. I think I might be able to guess from the smell.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm really happy with the way that this has gone today. I'm very happy with the way that everybody's interpreted the ideas that have been stated today. I'm very happy with the way that people have engaged with the ideas and wanted to improve upon the ideas that have already been set as well. I think that's absolutely amazing. I love that about our little community, that we're actually all able to consider ourselves equals rather than we're the big YouTubers and what you lot say doesn't fucking matter. No, we care about what you say.
Oh,
We
yeah.
want your opinions. We
Well, yeah,
encourage.
every last one of them matter to us, don't they, mate?
Exactly. No, I agree. Every single opinion fucking matters. Now, if your opinion is somebody is this or somebody is that, well, we accept your opinion, but it's not going to go anywhere and it has no credence. But we do accept all of your opinions, and we love the fact that you engage with us. And as Captain Coldpile said, we're all intelligent people. None of us are betters. None of us are our peers. Well, sorry, let me change that. Otherwise, that will be fucking stupid of me.
They're
None
all
of-
our peers.
Yeah, we all are peers. That's why I was going to change it.
No worries. We know what you meant. We know what you meant, brother. You and I are a lot alike. You're just a younger version. We get carried away.
Nah. No, I just got a little bit carried away on that point, as you said. But no, we are all equals. There are no betters than what we would consider betters. We're all equals, and I respect everybody's opinion. And to be honest, I'm actually really looking forward to going on Man Dodge's stream after this one, so that him and a couple of his mates can scrutinize the shit out of this, and I can defend my points. Because if I can't defend the points after I've written them, then they're not going to stand up to scrutiny by people in my country.
See, I can't give that to you, mate, because all I can do is the one thing is the drug thing. And I really, to be honest, in this, I already said it. I don't think there should be a Department of Education. I don't think there should be a department of the penal department. I don't think it should be there. Who needs a penile department? We don't need it. Now, should there be prisons? Yeah, the community does that. Wherever you commit the crime, you're in that community. You have to be here. You have to be tried. Like Dankula, okay? They said he committed this bullshit thing that under our Constitution would never have happened. We in our Constitution says hate crime doesn't exist. That is the first thing it says. The first thing that it really lays out is that we believe that you can have any idea that you want. That's why I love it so much, because the first blossoming truth, the very first idea that comes to fruition is you can think whatever you want. You want to say you hate Jews and Jews are stupid and they rule the world and you hook those bastards at Robbie, fine. You want to say all niggers are stupid and they're monkeys and what, fine. You want to say all Englishmen are, well, fine. You want to go, what, fine. You can say whatever you want. You can do, we have any ideas you want. Now, it's clear too that no one would tolerate breaking the natural law. I mean, it's when you come down to it, common sense. What you have here is a draft of natural law with some services thrown in. That's what you have here. That's why even Man Dodge Productions, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but you know he would be dying to tear down any fucking. So that's why you're sitting here saying I want somebody to come on and tear it down. Well, it's going to be tough. I think the best advice that we got tonight, it's got to be streamlined as can be. A lot of these big ideas have to be taken down to 3 or 4 long-winded, very founder-esque sentences. You know what I mean? That's just where there's a sweeping idea in a sentence that is up for debate, but makes the point clearly. And then, hell, you think you don't have any opposition now. When you get it streamlined like that, you will hopefully be able to take it. And here's the thing, people, man, people I won't mention right now that may hate me, but don't hate you. And even if they're a little mad at you, and not just the one person you maybe think, but other people, they love, everybody loves you, man. And so you actually have the opportunity to get this streamlined, get all of your P's and Q's together, get tore apart by everybody that can. That's why I encourage everybody to give him hell on this. The guy already said it in public. He would like to be a politician. That means he should be open to any kind of scrutiny. And then go see if you can peddle it on them platforms. I could say a couple very quickly. On the offensive, he's a good bro. Man, tell him, say, listen, mate, let me get a 3-minute spiel down. And I would be honored to help you in production. Get a nice boom. Here we are. This is our party. This is the LBP. This is what we stand for. This is me. I would like to be, I don't know, man, what's wrong with you running for, second selectman of the town you're in, the council you're in?
Nothing at this moment in time, apart from it happens next month.
Well, when does it happen again? When are the selectmen elected again? Every 4 years?
I'm not sure if it's every 2 or every 4.
Well, hopefully it's 2 for us, for you.
Yeah.
But because if it's next month, I wouldn't even try to blow sunshine up your ass. There's
no way I'm going to get anywhere within a month.
But if you've got 2 years to develop this platform, cut off the fat, keep everything here, but have the public statements be streamlined. The rest of it's there. Because even when I asked common sense, I knew what the answer would be. Would you take down anything that's been here public? No, hell no, because any of it could be up for scrutiny. I scrutinized all of it with a very jaundiced eye today, sir. Very jaundiced. Like, in other words, I just, Mrs. Ogre came out here a couple of times and she could tell she's not here now. And she wasn't here earlier because she could see I was just zoom lens focused into this thing. Where can I find the big blunder? That's what I was looking for. The big, oh, you can't do, and I won't lie to you, it's not there. I gave you my best one, but there would be no support for that. As far as in the public sphere, who gives a fuck about junkies? Nobody cares about junkies.
But as I said, that's only my personal opinion. That's the point of the party, to be able to divide what's best for the country. Because if you believe in the idea of democracy, then me being the leader does not necessarily mean that I can push my own political points of view. It has to be decided through the party.
Yes, sir.
I do not know everything, and I am going to be biased on some things. That's why you need other people in a party to make sure that you have equilibrium, so you can understand where people are standing from on the opposite question.
Yes. I do like this one beginning. I read a bunch of stuff you wrote. I did write this right here, but I wrote it under the heavily influenced rewording of what Common Sense Guy already wrote. In order to protect freedom of speech, as well as the right to defend oneself and be safe from unwarranted searches and seizures, a constitution is necessary. And I just don't think, because that's a long sentence, but there's something is missing in that, because I put freedom of speech, defend oneself, unwanted searches and seizures, that implies the government. A constitution is necessary. There could be a couple more commas in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Common sense. Because this is, like I said, I put it in different words, but this is straight out from that. And because I continue for protection from the government, as well as the right to have a voice in the shaping of that government, is the cornerstone of every free society. Because I'm gonna give one more thing. If do you have time, or are we ready for our final words?
I have a little bit of time. I don't know if my dad is sending me anything or not to actually fucking go on his channel.
Pardon me?
I don't know if Mad Dodge is actually going to send me anything so I can actually go onto his channel to be scrutinized or not. So at this moment in time, we have time.
Is he, and fuck him. If he's got the, see, it'll tell me if he's on. No, he's not live right now anyway. Unless he is and it just did me like it did you, and don't tell me. So very quickly, I lost my train of thought. Forget about it. I honest to God did. I completely lost my train of thought.
No worries. I'm sure it will come back to you at some point, my friend.
Oh, I know it will, because it's my second big objection, but we'll get to it, mate. We will. I can't believe it. I'm having a complete
family or civil court, or law in general, or was it to do with education?
No, it was in this Constitution mission statement. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Obviously, my old man used to tell me, if you forgot what if I was to be like, man, I forgot what I was going to say, he'd look at me and say, it must have been a lie. I mean, every time. And you say that a lot in life. It's like, man, I forgot what I was going to say. Every time he'd look at me like, it must have been a lie.
I will have to say, Mad Dodge made quite an excellent point. If I'm going to push for a constitution, then I don't really think that I should push for a constitutional democracy. I think as the party should actually push for a constitutional republic, because that's the framework that I want to work with anyway, if I'm developing the ideas from a financial and tax purposes. then I should be working as that point anyway, and just get rid of the democracy part.
Yeah, well, because that's what I was going to get you. It just flooded back to me for whatever reason. I lost my really eloquent point because I know it was going to sound cooler than what I'm about ready to say. Because that was, now all of this in my mind is the two wolves and a sheep. What's for dinner? But I had something better to say than that. But you do mention democracy. In the version I will send you, it won't really say democracy, except for pointing out that democracies have worked and that the people have to find out what's best. But democracy, as in direct democracy, when we look at Sparta, the Spartans, oh my God, that was terrible common sense. They ended up crashing because there were so many more women than men, and women could own property. I don't know if everybody knows this about Sparta. Women were very free there because every Spartan citizen was able to vote, man, woman, and child. Well, man and woman, sorry, no children. But they were able to vote after a certain age if they owned land, and a Spartan woman could be left land. So all this return on your shield or with it, that thing they say?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was behooved them to say that, because if that person died, they would probably inherit a bunch of land and then have a big voice. And in the end, they had a big voice, and they democracied themselves into oblivion. Direct democracy. In fact, I know you love the word, but I think it's because you use the word to cover an idea that is not the definition of the word. Democracy is a horrible thing. Democracy is second only to socialism / communism, and it's horrific evil, and it should just be stamped out. I honest to God think that we don't have a better way to say it. So that's what I would say. And when I look at this, and it's like democracy. The best part of it is you say elected republic. And yes, I'm American, but man, you've heard me say it, common sense. I like your way better, where you have the MPs elect the PM. Here, we elect a president, takes so much fucking money, everything else, and then the people are fickle. We might elect a Donald Trump or a fucking Hillary Clinton. Those were our choices at the end this time, mate. With all due respect to both of them, we could have. There's better for both than both, for sure. Yeah. And at least with you, they all get together. So you see what I mean? I don't like democracy. I just don't know a better way to name. I do know a better way to name it. You want me to give it to you right now?
Go on.
You ready?
Yeah.
You sure? LBP.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean it. I'm hand to God. That's why I built it up. The Liberal British Party. Liberal British Party. And why did you put British instead of Britain?
Vice versa. For two reasons. The reason why I put liberal in the beginning, because I'll explain it properly.
In Britain, I said British. So let me ask the crusher properly. Why did you put Liberal Britain Party when to my American ear and whatever, it seems like it should be Liberal British Party. Whatever case, I like the name, but why did you put it Liberal Britain Party?
I didn't. I put it as Liberal British.
Because it's right here. I keep reading it. Look, it's right here. So, man, maybe, guys, I'm telling you, you and I, we do the, maybe you just typed it the same way every time, but Liberal Britain, Britain. Yeah,
I'm going to have to change
that. I'm absolutely wrong. It is the Liberal British.
Yeah, I wanted. I made a mistake.
We got to have a vote on that now, common sense, because as I kept reading it, I won't even lie. I like the Liberal Britain Party.
Okay.
Because British kind of almost implies a lineage, but the Liberal Britain, anyone can be a Briton. But you could argue that everybody can't be British. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see where you're going with it. I mean, the idea from the actual point of either putting British or Britain was a case that I wanted to join the idea of a libertarian ideology with the cynicism of a civic nationalist point of view on immigration. I wanted to conjoin those two together because I feel that those two are the best forms of governance that we could probably have as in total governance. A libertarian idea is good all in all, but not when it comes to migration. Civic nationalism on that point is probably the best idea for immigration. And that's the reason why I put those two together.
Well, whichever it ends up being, hopefully we will put it up for a vote. I do like the ring of liberal Britain party, but it's just because of what I said. It's as I thought about it more and more. I actually, honest to God, I don't know if it was spell check or why it worked out this way, but I thought, the reason he put Britain is because if you're British, you had to have. It sounds semantically to me like you would have been born on the soil of Britain, but of Great Britain, but to be a Briton, you could swear allegiance. You could come from somewhere else, and you've put it very clearly in this manifesto that if you're willing to come participate in society, learn the language, learn to love the country, basically is what you're saying. Love the country. Well, yeah. You're more than welcome to be here. As long, you can't want to rape our girls and boys. You can't want to rape our women and men. You can't want to rape, period. You can't want to steal, and you can't want to rob us. You can't want to do all these bad things. But if you want to come and hell, do anything else, be a doctor, a lawyer, solicitor in your country, whatever it may be a trash man or a tinker of whatever kind, well, you're more than welcome to be here and to be a Briton. And I do love that. I like the, and I don't know if anybody's got that
as well. What we can quickly do is, just so everybody can, and chat, that means you need to wake up and pay attention for just literally 2 seconds. Literally 2 seconds. Put 1 for British, put 2 for Britain. And I just want to see what your preferences are.
I put mine. I voted. I'm such a dick.
Put mine as well.
Well, so look. Yeah. We might have started the avalanche. We may have started avalanche. So it's so far Liberal Britain Party is definitely in the lead, because it makes me feel too. I know me and Cap probably are feeling like we're not, and yes, we're getting a landslide of 2s. And that means that
fuck you, memes. Fuck you, memes.
Yeah. What is that? That's the Skull and Bones, isn't it? 1337. Yeah, of course it counts. Oh, deplorable me. But you said wake up. Look, deplorable me piped up. I didn't see one comment in the whole chat, but he does say one. And deplorable me is a hardcore British, and that's maybe why. Who cares? I'm not calling him alt-right or anything. He's just put in his 2 cents. And as a democracy, we're going to show the truth. As your leaders, we led you in one direction, and many followed. But so far, common sense guy, it's Liberal Britain Party.
So far.
I just fucking love that. And we'll do this again and again. So, and what we could do is, if we do it, we'll do best out of 5. And so we'll wait for 5 streams total. Who knows? I'll say this shit now and I'll forget. I know that. And then maybe we'll pick the one that wins the most. But so far, it's definitely Britain. 1776, Cap says. Yes, that is Skull and Bones. 1776.
Revolution is in the air.
Well, that's it for me, big guy. I fucking gave it the old college try. I'm 15 minutes over.
Yep. No worries. Yeah, I'm ready to go. So if you want to wrap yourself up, then I will continue afterwards.
I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do my 5, but I don't think it'll take me 5 minutes, even with this bong swap. This is for the Liberal Britain Party. I hope that it goes. I hope that in 1,000 years they don't even remember Tories and Labour, but the LBP is still there. That would be a wonderful thing, wouldn't it? Here's to that idea. And I can say this: stranger things have happened. Very quickly before I go, we forget that in Philadelphia, they gathered together upstairs, middle of the summer, hotter than the hinges of hell, hotter than Satan's hoof. And they were upstairs in their wigs and regalia. You know, them boys didn't leave home without their frilly fruffles and whatnot. It's got to be 110 degrees in that upper room, some of the pages said. And then they stood guard outside of the building while they talked about the Constitution. Because anybody in the chat, I'll give you a very short time while I continue to talk. What they were doing, what would you call that? There's a word for it. When very wealthy, powerful men get together and decide on what the next government is going to be in the place they live that already has a government. Anyone? Bueller? What's that?
Treason.
Treason. It was treason. It really, honest to God, was too. As much as I love our Constitution, it was treason. What's happening here with the liberal Britain party is not treason. It's a coming together of minds. It's a melding of minds, if you dig that Spock reference. It's a coming together of people. It's ideas being joined. It's folks deciding what folks will do with their tax pound, with their tax dollar. Listen, if we're going to be governed, we should be governed by ourselves. What's happened in my country is a travesty. We were warned by every one of our founding fathers what would happen if we had a central bank. It did happen. We were warned about the military-industrial complex by Dwight D. Eisenhower. It happened. We were warned about secret societies by Kennedy. We know what happened there. We've been warned. We're being warned by Donald John Trump right now. We're being warned by Nigel Farage, even though he seems to be backing up a little bit. We're being warned. There are still great men. I humbly say, like my brother Common Sense, there are still great Britons in this world that are willing to take time to consider not only what's best for them, because it's known, I'm just going to say it right now, it's known that the man that wrote this is disabled, but I had to point out to him that maybe in this one place it should have something about the disabled. That tells me that this man was focused on one thing, not about himself, or that would have been in there. I mean, anybody could see that if they knew him like I do. But he stepped outside of himself and seen his idea of this perfect government. So with my final word today, folks, I encourage you, share this stream. As we do subsequent videos, we're not going to make this a telethon. We won't make this the only thing we talk about, but I will strongly pressure that each one of the three of us, Magic Bollocks, myself, and Common Sense, do this once a month, which will mean 3 times a month on one of our channels. You will at least have a segment where we talk about the liberal Britain party. So with that said, be good to your friends and family members, folks, before you know it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I woke back up again. I don't really have too much to say. I appreciate everybody that has come out, that I have sent the link to have a look at this stream, to actually have a look at what I wrote, what we've decided. I appreciate everybody actually taking the time to actually listen to what I've actually said, what I've actually written down, to be able to challenge me as well. I absolutely love that about the internet. The fact that people from all over the world can exchange their ideas, exchange the ideas of what was going on, and being able to come up with something that might actually do something to better the world. That doesn't necessarily mean what I was thinking. It can be a conjuncture of what everybody in this chat, in this YouTube community that we can portray, that can actually help the actual world in itself. I don't know, maybe that's a bit leftist of me to think something like that, but maybe it's the idea that I'm thinking of, if I can help myself by helping the area in which I live, then maybe the area in which I live gets better. Other countries see that and then adopt the same idea. And maybe, as what Meme said before, you can throw a pebble into a stream or into a river, most importantly a pond would be the better analogy, and you can watch the ripples start from where the pebble hit the water and eventually consume the whole of the lake by hitting the rims of all of the lake, and just being able to flow freely without disruption. Maybe that is the best way of doing things in a democratically, I don't know, ideological points that we go through. And the reason why I say democratic is exactly the same reason as what Ogre does. I classify a republic as a form of democracy. That's the only reason why I classify it as that. But I do believe in a republic better than a direct democracy. The idea of a direct democracy would not actually require any form of leadership. All it would do would be to require people to talk and then pose a question to everybody. And then at that point in time, there is nobody there to be able to defend yourself. So, for instance, if you have more people that are rich, then they're going to win the vote every time when it comes to hurting somebody who's poor, and vice versa if it's the opposite way around. In the idea of a republic, the rural areas have the same votes as what the rich areas do. That's the idea of the republic, to give one vote, one voice. And that's the best way of doing it. And that's the reason why I want to try and implement it that way. So please, as Oga said, please share this as much as you want to. Download what I've already put down in the description box. Have a look at what's going on. And hopefully we might actually get somewhere.
Plug the red eye.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. I will speak to you all again really soon.
Plug the red eye.
I don't want to plug the red eye. I don't want to plug the red eye.
I mean, fuck them. Bye.
See you all again real soon. Bye-bye for now.